is a potato. Of course, you know that. And I wonder, have you ever thought, what happens before the potato arrives into the shops where we can buy them? Well, in April this year, this is a picture of a tractor. And that big box in the front is filled with little tiny potato seeds. And what happens is the tractor drives up and down the field, and out of the back, all those little potato seeds drop down into the ground, and they're covered over with the soil. And then for months, they stay under there and they grow. And I thought it would be a good idea to take a trip to the farm and see what happens when the potatoes are ready to be brought out of the ground. So come with me, and we're going to head down to the farm.
Hello everyone, I'm sure you'll recognise behind me Scrabble Tower, and I'm in a field just on the Cumber Road, and I've come down here because I have a friend who is a farmer. He sells potatoes, and I thought it would be good to come and have a little look at how the process happens. So he's up on the back of that tractor. There's two tractors there. One is scooping the potatoes up from the ground, and they're going up a chute, and then he's sorting out some stuff, and then they go into big boxes, and I'll show you later on what happens to the boxes. But let's go on to the back of the tractor, and we'll see my friend Robin working away, and we'll see what he's doing with the potatoes. Right, Robin, what are you doing on the back of the tractor then? What are you, when these potatoes come down, what are you doing?
These come down, I'm lifting out all this, any bits of soil, or any old tops, or any green ones. I throw them into the waste tray here, which takes them out the back. So it does. So what's left then is basically a clean sample.
There's Robin in the back of the tractor. He's sorting out all the bits of soil and stones and bad potatoes. And then that's the chute that you can see all the potatoes going up into, and they go up and they drop down into that bag, which stops them from getting bashed and broken into those huge big boxes. And he just keeps on doing the same thing. Robin sorts out all the bad ones, throws them in the wee chute, and they fall into the ground. And then the really nice, good potatoes go up the chute into the big boxes. And then they go off and they get sorted and stored before they arrive into the shops. So we've come a wee bit further down the road now. There is the trailer with the big boxes on it, and it's in a yard, and it's a big warehouse, and inside it's where the potatoes continue their journey to the next stage. So they come in, they get emptied into that big box at the end, and then all the potatoes come down another belt, and you can see the water flying out, splashing onto them, and that's blasting away all the dirt and soil and all the bits that are stuck to the potatoes. And then this is Ricky, and he's throwing out some bad ones that have maybe got their way through, and all the nice, fresh, lovely looking potatoes drop into this big box, and after that they get put into the bags and they get taken to the shops where we can buy them and make all sorts of lovely things with them.
And there you go. The potatoes, after they've been put in smaller bags, and then they're driven round and they go into the shops and people buy them. People like you and me. Now, I wonder if you can think for a few minutes about all the ways that we can eat potatoes. So think of all the different ways that you can cook potatoes, or all the different things that have potatoes in it. So pause the video, and you can talk with the person beside you or at your table, or if the teacher prefers, you can have a discussion in class. But take a couple of minutes and try and think of all the different ways that you can eat potatoes. Well, what did you come up with? I was thinking of boiled potatoes. You can have roast potatoes. You can have mashed potatoes. You can have champ, which is mashed potatoes with a wee bit of scallion and a wee bit of cream put into it. You can have them made into chips. So you can have big fat chips. You can have skinny chips. You can have shepherd's pie. You can have a baked potato. Did I say baked potato already? You can have potato rosti. You can have crisps. I think my favourite way to eat potatoes is either when they've been chopped up thin into crisps or when they're roast potatoes. But there's so many different ways that we can eat potatoes. And when we think about that, we should be thankful for how we get our potatoes. So there's two things we need to be thankful for. One is all the different people. So the farmers who plant the potatoes and then who go back and dig them up and then sort them and then wash them and then sort them again and then put them into bags, and then the people who drive big lorries and take them to the shops, and then the people who work in the shops so that we can buy the potatoes. There's lots and lots and lots of people. And at harvest time, it's a time to give thanks. And let's remember all the different people, even just to bring us potatoes. That's just one wee thing. You think of all the things, carrots and broccoli, and oh my goodness, there's so many different things at harvest. And it's good to be thankful for all the people that bring us these things so that we can enjoy them. And the other person to be thankful to, of course, is God. And at harvest time, we do that as well, because God created potatoes, those little seeds, so that they could be grown. And God sends the sun, and God sends the rain, and makes the potatoes grow, and all sorts of things as well. And harvest is a time to be grateful for the people who bring the things to us, but also to be grateful to God for all the many things that He gives to us. And when I think of harvest every year, I always think of a farmer, not Robin, my friend, who was planting and picking potatoes, but thinking about a farmer in a story that Jesus told in the Bible. And He told a story about a farmer who was scattering seed, not with a big tractor because there weren't any, but just with his hand in a bag, and he was scattering it out. And Jesus told the story. And just watch this now, and then I'll say something afterwards about it.
God's story, seeds and a farmer. So a part of God's story is about some seeds and a farmer. And it goes like this. Jesus traveled from town to town, teaching about God everywhere He went. Lots of people followed. One day, a huge crowd came to see Jesus. So many people that Jesus had to get into a boat while the people stayed on shore, so everyone could see and hear Him. Jesus helped people to understand what God is like by telling stories. We call those stories parables. That day, Jesus told this parable. A farmer went to his field to plant some seeds. Some seeds fell into a path. Before these seeds had a chance to grow, some birds flew in from out of nowhere and ate the seeds up. Some seeds fell into stones and rocks. These seeds started to grow, but their roots couldn't go deep enough to get water. And when the sun came up the next day, it burned up the plants. Some seeds fell among thorns. They grew, but so did the thorns, until the thorns got so thick they blocked out the sun and rain. Still, other seeds fell into good soil that was perfect for these plants to grow. These seeds grew into big, tall plants, and they made seeds of their own. And those seeds became big, tall plants too. Eventually, those seeds grew to produce many times what was planted. When He had finished, Jesus said, "Whoever has ears should listen." But not everyone who heard the parable understood it. The disciples came to Jesus and asked, "Why do you use stories when you speak to people?" And Jesus explained that just because people hear information about God doesn't mean they understand it. But sometimes when we hear a story about God, we can understand something about Him that we didn't understand before. Well, people must have still been confused because Jesus went ahead and explained the story of the seeds and the farmer. The farmer scattering seeds was like Jesus telling people about God's plan to rescue them. Remember the seeds that were eaten by birds? They're like the people who have heard about God's rescue plan, but didn't understand. They never got a chance to learn about God or start to follow Him. The seeds that fell into stones and rocks, these were people who heard and believed in God for a little while, but they gave up when following God was hard to do. Their faith wasn't very deep, like the roots of the plant weren't very deep. What about the seeds that fell among thorns? These were people who heard, believed, and started to follow, but they couldn't trust God with their whole life. Their worries and selfishness stopped them from growing, just like thorns block the plants from getting sunlight and water. And finally, the seeds in the good soil. They're the people who hear and receive Jesus' rescue, and then they follow Jesus, and their faith keeps growing no matter what happens in their lives. They grow strong and healthy and help other people to follow Jesus too, just like plants that grow and produce seeds to make other plants. Jesus wants people to know that it's not enough just to hear His words or stories. We can put our faith in Jesus and follow Him. Basically, we have to trust God with everything and do what He says, even if that means some people don't understand us, or even if we get worried and make mistakes. And if you're watching this, that means you can trust God and do what He says too. And that's the parable of the seeds and a farmer. So in case you missed it, here's the quick version. Jesus told stories called parables. One parable is about seeds and a farmer. Some seeds were eaten by birds or fell among rocks or thorns. Some seeds grew in good soil. The farmer is like Jesus. People who put their faith in Jesus are like the seeds that grow. And that's a part of God's story.
Well, boys and girls, I hope you've enjoyed following the journey of the potato. From when it goes in the ground, comes back out again, goes to the shops, and then goes into our bellies. And I hope you remember to be grateful to God at harvest time and to many, many people who bring us good things to enjoy. And I also hope you enjoy the story of the sower, the farmer sowing seed. And maybe you will be like the person who listens to what God says and does what He says. That's the person that produced good seed and produced a harvest. So when the Bible teaches us how to speak to other people, let's not ignore that. Let's do what the Bible teaches. And when the Bible teaches us how to be kind to other people, let's not ignore that and forget about it. But let's allow that seed to go into our minds and our hearts and to treat other people the way God wants us to, because that is what He wants us to do. Boys and girls, I hope you have a brilliant harvest time. Enjoy all the things you'll be doing in school to do with harvest. And I look forward to seeing you really, really, really soon. God bless.